Hello and welcome to another sewing tutorial. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to construct a corner seam. This is a technique that's used to join two pieces of fabric at a right angle. It's often found in garments and items like jackets, pillow covers, bags, wherever fabric needs to meet neatly at a corner. It's great for adding structure and clean lines to your projects, especially when you want to create a sharp defined angle without extra bulk at that corner. Typically, you'll find these seams in items that have square or angular shapes. Some common examples might include a tailored jacket or coats, where the collar or the hem meet at corners. You might see it in pockets of bags where the fabric is folded to create a defined edge, decorative pillowcases. You could even see it in skirts and dresses or pants with very sharp pleats or box pleats at the waist. This technique is a real game changer when you want to make those corners sharp and precise. So let's walk through the steps to construct the corner seam. So the first thing you'll need are two pieces of fabric. Here I've got just like a larger square and a smaller square. It doesn't have to be any particular size, but I'm going to take the smaller square and place it over the corner of this larger square, and I'm going to go ahead and draw the outline. So you'll need a clear ruler or a ruler and some marking pens or chalks. Both work well. So I'm going to use this. I do love these pens. What is this? This is a Frixion. It's basically an erasable pen, and when you iron it, it just disappears. It's great for fabrics. You can probably find these at your local office supply shop. All right, so we drawn our square where we want to place this, but now we need to add seam allowance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/2 inch of seam allowance to the square. The clear ruler is really helpful because I can ensure that my seam allowance is straight by lining it up on that line there. All right, now that we have our seam allowance, we're going to take this and place it here, and we're going to be stitching it at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now, before I stitch this, one thing I want to do is I want to prep the corner where I'm going to be pivoting. And in order to prep that corner, I'm going to need to stay stitch this around the corner so that when I snip it, I don't snip through that stay stitch. All right, now that we have our seam allowance, I'm going to go ahead and cut that square out of this fabric. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my machine and I'm going to stitch about 2 inches or so, we'll say. Let's just measure so we know. Or we'll do 1.5 inch from this corner down and another 1.5 inch from this corner down. So just a plain stitch right along that seam allowance line. All right, I went ahead and stitched along this edge here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip all the way to this corner without cutting through the stitching. So I don't want to cut through the stitching, but I want to cut close to it. You could mark this with a pen if you want to make sure you're accurate, because the closer you are to this corner, the better you'll be able to pivot. So we've got that corner. Now we're going to mark our seam allowance and maybe cut this a little bit too to make this pattern work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 1/2 seam allowance on 2 edges of this fabric, and I'm going to use this white chalk so that you guys can see what's going on here. And then let's go ahead and do another 1/2 inch on this corner. So we've got 1/2 inch seam allowance on 2 corners, and this corner is where it's going to meet. This is going to meet right here, this corner. So these two should line up. This is where we're going to be pivoting. And then I can cut this extra about 1/2 inch or so off here and then off the bottom as well. I'm going to go ahead and snip that just to prep it. And then we'll go to the machine and we'll get this sewn. So what we're gonna do at the machine, we'll go over the steps, but then I'll show you again at the machine. We're gonna go through and we're gonna stitch all the way to this corner. We'll just mark the little corner here. When the needle reaches this little corner, we're gonna leave the needle down in that position and we're gonna pivot and turn. You see that little corner? And we're gonna turn this around to this corner. And then we're gonna sew it straight through and back stitch at the beginning. So I know I'm gonna lose a 1/2 inch here as well, because if I line up these lines here, I'm gonna lose some fabric here. So just to prep my sample, I'm gonna clean this up and you guys can create the sample with me so that you can follow along. All right, let's go to the machine and get these 2 pieces stitched together. All right, so here I am at the machine. I've got my 2 pieces and you're gonna be, when you sew yours, mine you can't tell the right from the wrong because they both look the same, but you're gonna face the right sides together, okay? So make sure you face the right sides together and you're gonna match it up like this with this corner right there. And I'm just gonna put a little pin here to make myself stop right there. I wanna make sure I don't go past that little point. So you're gonna back stitch at the beginning. So as I get closer, I might go really slow or even go by hand. I think I'm right there on that pivot point. As you can see, I am. I'm gonna pull that pin out. Now I'm gonna pivot and I'm gonna pull this over like this and I'm gonna pull this around over this. So since the needle's down over that, we should be fine, and we just flatten it out like so. Make sure we don't catch this underneath and just pull it out of the way so it's nice and flat right there. And then we're gonna go ahead and stitch all the way to the edge and back stitch. And there we have it. Now when we flip it over, look at that corner seam. Now all we need to do is go to our iron and we need to just press this out nice, and we've got this beautiful corner seam without any additional bulk. You might have to use the edge of your iron to make sure you get a nice, crisp, clean corner. All right, guys, that wraps up this corner seam video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button and the subscribe button. And I hope to see you in the next video. Happy sewing!